why? Like, it had the opportunity before to just go straight on the Pacific Highway.
Okay, this is going to be a good test.
I'm seriously speechless.
Oh no.
But this is a navigation issue.
Oh no.
Why? Oh my word.
I'm ready to take over, if need be.
Far out. Okay,
Look, it's being very conservative.
Yeah, rightly so. And look, it's lucky that there's now a massive gap in traffic.
Okay, we should be able to go after this car.
Let's see whether it decides that it can go. Okay. No, and look, credit where credit is due. Before that final car had passed us, it had already started accelerating up the slope.
So the early Aussie reviews and highlights of FSD from Down Under are rolling in. The TLDW, 99% of the time it's incredible and minds are blown, but we still have 1% of the time where you still need to be paying attention. And really, this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody with prior FSD experience. No shade to this channel, Ludicrous Feed, they put out a great video, but it seemed like they weren't really aware that this current version of FSD is not going to handle parking lots or things at your destination perfectly well yet. There were 2 or 3 times in this video when the car arrived at their destination, but they just let it keep going and eventually took over when it didn't park or do what they were expecting it to do, and they counted those as interventions. Which, whatever, it's their video, they can call it whatever they want, but ultimately my point is it seems like there's a lack of education about the limitations of FSD version 13. But yes, there were some actual interventions.
Let's see who gets to go first, because that lane is a single lane, right? Okay, so actually this lane goes right. This one just goes straight.
Okay,
wow, that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was definitely an intervention.
Okay, no, that would have failed.
In this clip, it also seems like they're yet to learn that sometimes FSD will drive on a route that disagrees with what the navigation is showing. In this instance, the navigation was showing a quick left and then a right, which would end up like a U-turn, but he decided to take over before letting it play out.
Where is it going?
It maybe wants to turn right from this lane, potentially.
Oh, no, it's indicating left.
Well, let it do its thing.
Okay, see now?
It's doing something odd.
Wow, that's not right.
Look, I am actually going to take over, because that's not the right way.
And maybe had they let it go, the car would have actually gone left like it wasn't supposed to, but I do think there's a chance the car just would have taken a natural right turn had they let it go.
Now, it's in the wrong lane.
I was going to say, it's in the wrong lane, and it wants to exit. The car behind me let me through. I might have to do the Sydney wave and thank them. It's not me. And if this right lane goes first, I might get horned here. But see that? It actually cut in like a Sydney driver.
Yeah, I know. That's good. Okay, look, you're lucky that both arrows turned green at the same time. Not both arrows, you know what I'm trying to say.
And look, it went. It didn't like pause. It actually just went.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the Sydney wave, so thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, the Sydney Opera House.
Look, pedestrians. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Look.
Look at that. That was such a good test.
Awesome.
Yes, it let them through.
Whoa.
How good is that? I've always said all along, I'd be happy not to drive a car anymore once the car drives better than me. And at this stage, it's not driving better than me. It's doing it very well for like 99% of the time. But I think when the stakes are high, it's not acceptable yet. You know what I mean? Like, it's not at a stage where I can sit back and relax.
In traffic, I haven't touched anything. The car is doing it all itself. This is extremely impressive. And that is why they are bringing this stuff in now. They want to be the most competitive. How do they do that? They need to have something differentiating. And in this case, it's the fact that the Tesla can literally drive itself. But now that this is here, or at least it's coming, I would 100% recommended.
Overall, the system was excellent. It handled T-junctions by itself with ease, monitoring and yielding to oncoming traffic until it was safe to move. It paid attention to the traffic lights, even though the central display showed those traffic lights sometimes dancing around and going haywire. It also handled roundabouts with ease. In fact, the only issues I found in this early version of the software were a lack of indicating when leaving roundabouts or late indicating when approaching intersections. It also sometimes struggled with picking a lane when navigating confusing, curved multi-lane intersections like this, much like a learner driver would when they're beginning. Also, this early software sometimes drove slower than the traffic around it on some busy streets.
As a tool to help you relax after a long day at work, rather than taking full control of the vehicle, Tesla's full self-driving supervised is by far the best on the market right now, certainly sold in Australia.
So now we can compare Tesla's sales in Australia from January through August and then separately from September through next year to see if FSD availability moves the needle at all for sales. I'm not expecting a massive spike, and it'll take a few weeks and probably months before people become aware of FSD being available, but clearly this is a big upgrade for Tesla's attractiveness in the market.
Honestly, guys, this was a surreal experience. I mean, to just have this car drive me around Brisbane for an hour. We're talking in the city environment, the motorway, and as many people would know, Brisbane, the city, a lot of a spaghetti bowl of quick on-ramps and quick exits. It handled it so well. It's a full self-driving supervised. So I was always supervising what it was doing. I just never put my hands on the wheel once. I mean, for me, I just personally thought, wow, how is this going to work? And then when I went through it, honestly, it was mind-blowing.
And if you're wondering why many reviewers are complaining about the cars driving slower, why don't they just put it in hurry mode? Well, that's because TechAU told us that for now, they don't have FSD drive modes yet. So for now, there's no option to choose chill, standard, or hurry, which is honestly an unfortunate limitation. I'm personally in hurry mode all the time, and even that is still sometimes a bit slower than I would prefer the car make decisions and drive, but they have to start somewhere. TechAU also pointed out that in his experience, the speed was pretty unreliable, meaning there were some struggles with speed regulation when changing between speed zones. And now it'll be interesting to see if Australians have the same upgrade cadence as we have in North America. Just to get this one out of the way real quick, Slingshot Strategies did what in my opinion is a ridiculous survey where they found a way to paint the narrative that Tesla's FSD turns off more US consumers than it attracts. And they said of 8,000 Americans polled, only 14% said FSD would make them more likely to buy a Tesla, while 35% said the tech would make them less likely to buy one, which on its face just makes no sense. Why would having the option to upgrade to a new feature make them less likely to buy a Tesla vehicle? No one's forcing them to buy this technology. No one's forcing them to use it. So really the only way that statement would make any sense is if the people being surveyed had no idea what FSD even was or how it worked, or that it was an optional feature. Maybe they thought if you buy a Tesla, you're forced to use FSD, which obviously is not the case. And there's some other garbage, like nearly half of consumers surveyed by Slingshot think FSD tech should be illegal. So you get the gist. I won't go further into the article because honestly for me this stuff is infuriating. But here we have it. Slingshot Strategies, a full-service political consulting firm that provides polling that reflect our values. We have a proven track record of shifting the conversation and delivering victories in the most difficult fights. AKA, they are literally trying to be narrative pushers. And yes, they're New York based. The founding partner and CEO, Sam Hawes, a Democratic political operative. And I could go on and on. As you can see, this theme persists throughout this organization. I've said all along I'm not a fan of any survey because they're so easily manipulated, and this is Exhibit A. So listen, if any of you get as frustrated as I do with this when people disparage life-saving incredible tech, just rest in the fact that a day is coming when these articles will have no sway. Tesla is going to solve this. Robotaxis will proliferate state after state. lives will be saved, skeptics will continue to be converted as the evidence and data will be overwhelming. But we should not expect the detractors to go quietly into the night. They're gonna go kicking and screaming. And it should be no surprise in this article they took the opportunity to compliment Waymo, arguing how Tesla's lagging behind. And look, on certain metrics they are. But as James Stevenson said, I'm continually amazed by how enraptured the media and Tesla Q are with Waymo's safety record. They've reported hundreds of collisions to NHTSA this year. That's like 15 per week. Now, to be a bit more official, that number was actually from a law firm and Reddit, so not reliable in my opinion. But here's something that is reliable and official: the state of California's DMV website and autonomous vehicle collision reports. Bear in mind, all of this data is only for the state of California. This does not include any of Waymo's operations in other states. And all of these reports I'm about to show you are for any collision that resulted in property damage, bodily injury, or death. Here are the reports for 2025. Each one has a PDF, and I'm scrolling down the screen, but you can see Waymo is listed time after time. A quick Command F gives us 37 results so far just through 2025. Then I closed 2025 and just opened 2024, and we had 102 reports for Waymo just last year. And then there were 50 in 2023. But remember, that's California data only. So considering all of Waymo's operations, it is likely to be a few hundred collisions annually. And as we know, the media rarely, if ever, talks about any of these. But when inevitably the first incident happens with Tesla, it's going to be headline news on every outlet. So look, I know it's nothing new, but all these people shouting that LiDAR's safer and better and you need more sensor data, yada yada. Well, show them this data. Ask them what their answer is for these hundreds of annual collisions for Waymo and hundreds of situations that don't show up in this data, where there might not have been a collision, but a Waymo gets stuck in a construction zone or an intersection or any other video clip that we've seen, because they'll have no argument to this whatsoever. So this is not to dunk on Waymo, it's just to try to correct the narrative. A lot of you responded to the story I shared a few weeks back about Amy Boyer and her parents, how they sued a data broker after a classmate of Amy's paid a data broker to get Amy's personal info, as well as her location information to track her down and eventually shoot and kill her. And I know it's extreme, but not enough people take the size and dangers of the data broker industry seriously enough, in my opinion. I say this confidently, having researched the industry in depth before partnering with Delete Me, the sponsor of this video. And after that, I decided I would do everything in my power to make sure my family is not exposed to this nefarious industry, and to make sure these companies are not profiting from selling our personal information. So if you want to do the same for your family, Delete Me takes care of this data removal from these data brokers for you. I just got my 12th report, and I was quite pleased to see Delete Me reviewed over 5,700 listings and only had to submit removal submissions for 2 of them, which means the rest of these listings are clean. And the best part, Delete Me continually checks to make sure it stays that way, because as you buy things online and create accounts, there's always the chance for new data brokers to pull that info and sell it to others. Delete Me is an American company. Their customer service is excellent. You get your own privacy advisor if you have any questions, and it's incredibly affordable. So if you want to get some peace of mind for you and your family and support the work I do at Electrified, you can head to joindeleteme.com/electrified to get 20% off using my code Electrified linked below, or by using the QR code on the screen. The new Model Y Performance has officially been launched across parts of Europe and the Middle East. I'll just zip through some of the features. There's a new front and rear fascia and a carbon spoiler. The adaptive damping adjusts based on road conditions. There are some new drive modes for high-speed driving. It does have staggered wheels. The bucket seats are very similar to the Model 3 Performance, but in the Model Y they also get the powered thigh cushion extenders. I think one of the best upgrades, it does have the bigger bigger 16-inch center touchscreen that we saw on the Model YL, which is also of better quality. The 0 to 60 time is 3.3 seconds. The EPA range should be right in the neighborhood of 300 miles, maybe slightly above. The top speed's 155 miles per hour. So I hate to say I'm underwhelmed a bit, but I think I am. I let my expectations get too high after the Model YL, seeing the black headliner and the cooled wireless charging, which this performance variant will not have. The exterior changes from the long range are also minimal, but it's really to be expected. We know Tesla has much bigger aspirations right now, and the performance variant is such a small part of overall sales. Personally, I just always want Tesla to come out and wow people with ridiculous specs, and I thought they might do something like that with its best-selling vehicle, but again, there's really no need to do that, and if it performed better than the 3P, that would obviously be bad for Model 3 sales.
We have a new button, and look how it operates. Oh, it's more like the Chinese cars.
And for perhaps my favorite feature,
we also have new 21-inch Arcanide 2.0 forged wheels in a staggered setup, 255 in the front and 275 in the rear. You have integrated aero inserts that you can remove, so here you can see the difference between those removed or included. That's just personal preference, what you prefer there.
I love the new wheels, and this variant does come with the puddle lights as standard with the performance badge. I had to buy mine from Tesla for the Model 3 from the shop. It would have been nice for Tesla to have this variant available in the USA first, and even earlier to have some time in the market while the EV tax credit is still around, but given they did not push for that, there's a chance we don't see this on the US configurator until Q4. Devin shared this picture of a Tesla Fast Pass, and many people weren't sure what it was. Ryan Torres from Tesla said, "I helped design it. After service, if an issue persists, return with the Fast Pass for immediate assistance." This has been around for at least 6 to 8 months. For the first time in 3.5 years, BYD's quarterly profit has fallen. Its net profit in Q2 was $894 million, down 30% from a year earlier. BYD still generates around 80% of its sales in China, where it saw vehicle sales fall in its home market for the third straight month in July. This while its production slid for the first time in 17 months. BYD was among the major automakers that pledged in June to make payments to suppliers within 60 days instead of the roughly 1-year timeline it was operating on before. And they said BYD's working capital deficit, which is just your current assets minus your current liabilities, expanded to 122.7 billion yuan, which is roughly $17 billion. And then calculating the increase in deficit from Q1 to Q2, that works out to $3.7 billion. So as we talked about all throughout Q1 and Q2, there were absolutely signs out there that things were starting to go south for BYD, and now it's showing up in the financials. All right, I told you guys I would have a quick segment on this. Penny said America should be building power plants and battery storage, to which Elon said, "I have a plan for that." The thing is, Elon could have just been referring to the latter part of the statement, and that Elon's doing things with battery storage, but is he doing something with power plants as well? Once I really dug into this, some of the reports that I had initially turned out to not be true. However, I am quite confident that there is something brewing behind the scenes, and sometime over the next year, we're likely to get an announcement. Just to read the tea leaves, Randy Kirk said, "Elon, please build massive solar power gigafactory, build more megafactories, get to your proposed 1 terawatt hour of Elon power as fast as possible." July of this year, Elon said, "Thinking about it." If you haven't been watching, all year, Elon has been pounding the table about solar. Just a few examples. Elon said solar is around 100% of energy long term. Maybe there should be a solar gigafactory in America. Even a patch of Spain could power all of Europe with solar. Solar power is very obviously the future if you can do elementary math. Compared to the sun, all other energy combined is like caveman burning some twigs. Compared to solar, oil is small time. And there's actually dozens more posts like this, but I want to pause on this one. Elon said most people don't realize how much solar power China has installed. Enough to power half of America. That was back in May. Let's expand on that. China is constructing 2/3, nearly 339 gigawatts, of the world's utility-scale solar and wind projects. That would be enough to power more than 250 million homes, nearly double the number of homes that exist in the US. That's in addition to the 758 gigawatts of wind and solar capacity it's already built. Chinese solar is now expanding so fast, by the early 2030s, the country will generate more power from the sun than the amount of electricity the US will consume altogether. That, according to the International Energy Agency. And here's where things get tricky. China is also leading the world in exporting solar panels around the globe, while the US has put restrictions on Chinese solar imports due to forced labor concerns and is focusing on building out its own domestic supply chain for solar. So clearly, Elon has been thinking a lot about solar and a lot about energy generation for his needs at XAI. And don't forget about former Tesla exec Drew Baglino and his new startup Heron Power. All you need to know, his company designed a new type of solid-state transformer that promises to modernize the grid and make patching more wind and solar onto the power system easier and safer. And for those that want to know how, Heron's transformers cut out a key step on either end of the grid when it comes to direct current power. A traditional transformer requires an inverter to take on power from a battery or a solar panel. And those same transformers need a rectifier to help disperse those electrons to a data center or a charging station. That's because legacy transformers cannot convert a direct current to an alternating, nor can they control bidirectional energy flows, nor can they regulate voltage. The Heron Link, it's called, Heron's first product, can do these things. The solid-state transformers run software that regulates voltage and frequency, making it possible to add more invert-based power to a grid without risking blackouts. In short, Heron's technology could ease demand for traditional transformers amid a years-long shortage. And again, all of this should make it much easier to add more solar into the power system. So I don't know when it's going to happen, but at some point, Elon is going to pair up again with JB Straubel at Redwood for recycling initiatives, and with Drew Baglino and Heron Power once they get up and running. And it won't surprise me at all if Andre Karpathy eventually ends up working together with Elon in some way, shape, or form again. Last month, Elon said, "Andre, my long-lost brother, let us work together again." But let's keep it moving. Elon said Tesla Master Plan Part 2 will be complete next year. Master Plan 3 was too complex for almost anyone to understand, but it described how all of Earth could move to sustainable energy. Master Plan 4 will be concise. As a reminder, Master Plan 2, create a low-volume car, check. Use that money to develop a medium volume car at a lower price, check. Use that money to create an affordable high volume car, check. And provide solar power. No kidding, this has literally been on our website for 10 years. In short, Master Plan Part 2, create stunning solar roofs with seamlessly integrated battery storage, expand the EV product line to address all major segments, develop self-driving capability that's 10 times safer than manual, and enable your car to make money for you when you aren't using it. And there's more. Earlier this year, XAI acquired a 1 million square foot property in Memphis. The land is set to host infrastructure to complement XAI's existing Memphis data center. After that, XAI purchased a former natural gas power plant close to the site of its new data center in Memphis. This 114-acre piece of land was formerly owned by Duke Energy. Satellite images suggest there's little infrastructure remaining at the site, but it has utility lines that are currently connected to a natural gas power plant operated by the Tennessee Valley Authority. XAI said, "We're not publicly disclosing what's happening there at the power plant. There's a lot of wheels turning around what that could be and what we're looking at." everything is still on the table right now. After that, XAI announced it was going to import an entire power station from abroad to supply one of its US data centers. An analyst said XAI just bought a power plant from overseas and they're shipping it to the US because they couldn't get a new one built in time. What type of power station XAI has acquired, where it got it from, and when it will be imported has not been disclosed. And this is not just some fake news. Nick posted this very thing on X, and replying to it, Elon said accurate back in July. So let me quickly land the plane. The US government right now is clearly not going to do the right thing from an energy policy perspective. So Elon is hyper aware we are going to need private and public sector companies to step up and make something happen so we don't fall further behind what China is doing. If the US has any shot at AI relevance, we are going to need a lot more energy generation. Could it be a massive solar gigafactory in Texas? Could it be a massive solar farm in Texas, Nevada, or elsewhere? Could it be a separate startup outside of Tesla altogether? Could it be a new power plant blueprint using AI and more renewable sources? Could Tesla or a new startup begin selling power at scale in the US? These are all fair questions. Right now, everything is speculation, and although solar and battery storage is in line with Tesla's mission of sustainable abundance, massive energy projects like this are going to cost tens of billions of dollars, and that might be capital Tesla doesn't want to spend. Nor would it want to get bogged down with red tape on the utility side. But any startup outside could still benefit Tesla greatly, much like XAI. It could buy megapacks from Tesla, and of course they would likely cross-pollinate in other ways as well. So we'll continue to follow any clues that are dropped, but it does seem like something is brewing and Elon has a plan for it beyond just Master Plan Part 4. My apologies if you were expecting something more concrete. I thought I did have something, but again, it turned out not to be true. So for now, this is where I have to leave it. And what do you know? Tesla Energy shared this just now, breaking the cost barrier in US residential solar. The TLDR, we need to drive down the cost. Tesla's analysis shows the solar and storage industry in the US can cut residential solar and storage costs by 40% without subsidies. The biggest levers: streamlined code requirements and approvals, lower customer acquisition and labor costs, and driving down hardware costs. Policy reform is essential. Instant permitting, capped fees, virtual inspections, standardized codes, aligned national standards, and lower tariffs to cut hardware costs while strengthening US manufacturing. The industry must deploy AI and digital tools to cut marketing and acquisition costs, standardize on cost-effective hardware like string inverters and integrated battery inverter systems, train crews for faster, safer installs, operate as integrated providers to align sales, design, and service, and above all, rebuild trust with upfront, transparent pricing. Which of course sounds great, but that is a huge ask. But this just drives my point home even further. And finally, on the Tesla Semi, I'm sure most of you have seen this video from Heinrich Zane showing a massive delivery at the Semi factory, which we believe to be a stamping press. Now, we still have a few months before things with a Semi program really start to pick up and we hear more about early production as we head into 2026. But I'm very confident many Tesla investors have basically written off this program not because it lacks potential, but because everybody's hyper fixated on robotaxis and Optimus. So I do think many people are underestimating the impact that the Tesla Semi could have. Now, sure, it's going to take a few years, and a lot of my thesis does bank on Tesla solving FSD on the Semi, but pay attention to the way the winds are blowing. The State Department is currently pausing the issuing of work visas for foreigners looking to become commercial truck drivers in the US. We have no idea how long this pause will last, but this could certainly make the driver shortage in the Semi market even worse. In fairness, the extent of this driver shortage is a hotly debated topic, but it's not hard to see if Tesla comes into this space with the most efficient truck on the market and one that doesn't require a driver, well, then the economics of the semi market, which are already not stellar, are going to be completely blown up. Tesla shared this photo of the semi doing some testing in Oregon as of late. Dan Priestley shared this photo of the semi saying running hood to coast, which is a roughly 200-mile relay event, and it brings around 10,000 people each year. Fun fact, this is not a wrap on the trailer, but rather a painted mural. Dan Priestley also said there's another semi in Washington now.
This is a vehicle that some people said was impossible to build, that it defied physics. Well, not only does it not defy physics, we're going to be making a lot of them. So we're going to make I think ultimately we'll make over a millions probably of the Tesla Semi. And this is really going to be something that you'll see all over the place. And it'll also be autonomous, or have the ability to go autonomous down the road.
Elon has also said we have ridiculous demand for the Tesla Semi. Any company that does not adopt an electric semi will lose. And if you're rolling your eyes because Elon said similar things about the Cybertruck, I'll grant you that, but remember, this is not the same game. We're talking fleets and economics on the commercial side, which is very different than personal retail purchases. Dan Priestley said the arc of the transportation universe is long, but it bends towards autonomy. And if you're thinking, wait a second, how is the semi traveling across state lines? Luckily, this image was shared on Reddit. What we have here is a low power converter that allows the semi to charge from existing V3 superchargers by stepping up the voltage to match the semi's higher voltage battery. So in this situation, the supercharger's NACS cable is not plugged directly into the semi's main charging port. Instead, it's routed into an open storage compartment or door on the driver's side of the truck behind the cab, where it connects to this auxiliary NACS inlet or adapter inside. So obviously this is not a standard feature on the semi, it's really just a custom setup for road testing right now before the megawatt charging system is deployed. And Dan Priestley confirmed it's engineering use only low power voltage converter to step up from V3 to semi system voltage. It's used to extend the operating area of trucks until semi chargers are built out with V4. The V4 cabinets can deliver up to 1.2 megawatts for heavy duty trucks like the semi when configured for it. Tesla said it right here on the Q4 slide deck. We unveiled our V4 cabinet, which supports 400 to 1000 volt vehicle architectures, charges up to 500 kilowatts for passenger vehicles and 1.2 megawatts for the Tesla Semi, and has cutting edge power electronics with 3 times the power density. So V4 cabinets will be powering the Semi as well. So of course it's going to take time to build out the V4 infrastructure with V4 cabinets and then the posts with the megawatt charging system, but I have a feeling orders for the Tesla Semi are going to be what we wanted orders for the Cybertruck to be. Not 1 for 1, but I mean in excess of what most people are expecting. And the ramp will likely be slow at first, but once these start shipping, and if Tesla has even supervised FSD early on, this program is set up to be a major disruptor that I think a lot of people have largely forgotten about. Tesla stock closed the day at $333.87, down 3.5%, while the NDX was down 1.22%. The volume was 4% below the average. Don't forget, check out Delete Me linked below for those interested. And really, you guys interacting with these sponsors is the reason I can keep doing Electrified the way that I am. So truly, I can't say it enough. Thank you. Hope you have a wonderful and safe long weekend. No video from me on Monday. Enjoy it. Please like the video if you did. You can find me on X linked below. And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.